as they know there's an audience a few feet away taking in every note and expressing their approval. We'll hear from Goodman, Ellington, Kenton, and several others as they perform on stage. Tune in, go swinging down the lane with David Miller.
Saturdays at 7 on KSJE Farmington.
Make each day a learning experience with the Academic Minute and join us as we discover cutting-edge research from colleges and universities around the world. Tune in to broaden your understanding of the past and be the first to learn how today's innovations will transform our tomorrow. From the latest breakthrough in green technology to the discovery of humanity's oldest tools, you'll find it all on the Academic Minute.
Listen every weekday afternoon during the KSJE Evening News at 5:30.
Hi, I'm Brett Barry, the host of Soundbeat. Every episode features a recording from Belfer Audio Archive, one of the largest sound archives in the country. We add in a related storyline, whether it be about the performers, the songs, or something else entirely. From vaudeville to vinyl, you'll hear it all on Soundbeat. Soundbeat is produced at the Belfer Audio Archive, Syracuse University Libraries.
This program is supported by San Juan Health Partners Urology, providing a wide range of personalized services for the whole family, including children. Our caring professionals are dedicated to helping meet your urology health needs with skill, experience, and service you need. For a complete listing of our services and to learn more, visit sanjuanhealthpartners.com or call 505-609-6300. San Juan Health Partners Urology, a division of San Juan Regional Medical Center. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Thursday morning, November 15th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin. Thanks for tuning in this morning. And welcome to our viewers who are watching us live on the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. We hope that you will take part in the program today. My guest, Mike Eisenfeld, is here from the San Juan Citizens Alliance, a different perspective on economic development, the future of oil and gas and coal in our community, and much, much more as part of our discussion this morning in just a few more moments here on KSJE. We'll get to that in just a second. Also want to remind you that coming up later on this hour, we will check in on the markets with Jason Calcote from Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation. Jason's keeping track of the price of natural gas and oil, which have seen some major changes in the last few days this week. So we'll talk about that and more coming up later on this hour on KSJE. At 9 a.m., Mick Hess is roving with the arts. Mick is playing for us on this Thursday more Haydn symphonies. He's playing all the Haydn symphonies in order on every Thursday, and we're up to symphonies numbers 80 and 81. That's coming up today at 9 a.m. on Roving with the Arts, as well as some arts news of things going on in the community. And then we want to remind you, of course, it is all week long, a week of special programming here on KSJE, our DJ for a Day event. We have two shows coming up today. The first one will be at 10 o'clock this morning, featuring disc jockeys from the San Juan College and La Salle and Herencia Center here on campus. Some Spanish music for you coming your way today at 10 a.m. right here on KSJE, and some reminders, of course, to support this listener-supported radio station. Then at noon, don't forget about our movie review program, A Review Too Far. Our reviewers are talking about this film, Overlord. That is coming your way today at noon. And then this afternoon, our final DJ for a Day program for today anyway. And that is going to be Presidential on the Tony and Boomer Show, featuring San Juan College President Dr. Tony Hopper Pendergrass and our Vice President for Student Services here at San Juan College, Boomer Appleman, and they will be here spinning some tunes this afternoon at 3 p.m. for our DJ for a Day program here on KSJE. Lots of reasons to listen in. We hope you will do that. Of course, you can do it at 90.9 FM. You can listen, of course, on our website as we stream at ksje.com, and for some of our programs from here, our visual radio studio, you can watch them live on the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. But I'll only introduce my guest who's here with us in the studio this morning. As I mentioned, Mike Eisenfeld is here from the San Juan Citizens Alliance. Mike, welcome back to KSJE.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good to have you here to talk a bit more, a different perspective maybe on oil and gas and the oil and gas industry, as we've been talking about it here this week on KSJE. And it is, I think, the San Juan Citizens Alliance is an organization that kind of promotes other points of view, some more economic sustainability and help us to remember a little bit about the mission of the organization, because I'm not getting it right, I don't think.
Well, yeah, we've been in existence for 30 years, and I've lived and worked for San Juan Citizens Alliance for the past 12 years in Farmington. I think that we recognize that this is an area of multiple use, federal lands, state lands, a lot of jurisdictional issues, a lot of history. I think oil and gas started in the early 1900s around here. The coal-fired power plants have been here since 1962 and 1972. So a lot of these things are entrenched, and then a lot of leasing that occurred in the 1950s, 1960s. So it's a little complicated, and but as we are transitioning to looking at our community a little differently, outdoor recreation and tourism, and a lot of the amenities here, and I mean, there's just some fascinating things about this region. One thing that always I think is fascinating is that 67% of the surface water in New Mexico flows through Farmington, and so
we're very lucky.
Yeah,
we're
lucky in that regard, and it's sort of like, all right, so what are the decisions that we need to make in 2018? And then kind of, where are we within kind of this idea of, the federal government saying areas like ours should be considered for energy dominance. And then, we're kind of saying, all right, but we want to be looked at a little bit, more as a place where there's other things happening, the national parks, the rivers, the quality of life here. And we're also, you mentioned that, oil and gas, oil's struggling right now. Natural gas is coming up a bit. But, stewardship of our resources and, more of a dialogue about, what it means to manage our resources in a proactive way.
Sure. And so that's why I appreciate you being here to talk a little bit about this. And a lot of folks would say, but aren't we already managing them well? Isn't the idea to have multiple use when we're talking about federal lands, and you want places for maybe grazing and agriculture and places for recreation, but also to manage them properly, they should be also available to a certain degree for resource development of oil and gas or minerals, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a balancing act. There's a lot of royalties and revenue generated from this basin, and it goes to Santa Fe and to Washington, D.C. primarily, and we would like to see some of that money coming back. We've also had a lot of fundamental shifts in the oil and gas industry. Some of the companies that have been here for generations, like ConocoPhillips. ConocoPhillips was ConocoPhillips, Burlington.
Right,
all
that whole
bunch together.
History, true.
They sold to Hilcorp, and then Hilcorp is new here. And so, we're not really sure what, Hilcorp's performance will be.
Right.
And then there's a lot of responsibilities that come with having all of these oil and gas resources on public land, including reclamation, restoration, revegetation. It's all part of the equation. It's known as conditions of approval.
Right.
And stipulations. So one of our concerns is, are these companies going to be here to do that when
in the future
it happens in the future?
Gotcha.
And then there's so much oil and gas infrastructure, and I'm out all the time and I'm looking at it, and some of it is really well maintained and some of it's terrible. But I don't think that it's fair to just say, across the board, oil and gas is bad, environmentalists. Like, I hear a lot, extreme environmentalists, and I'm hoping that our community can rise above that kind of rhetoric, maybe be a little bit more, all right, like, the community is becoming more diverse, and I would hope that diversity is celebrated rather than, seen as a deterrent.
Sure, but you're right. We've seen a lot of changes in the companies that are here and the companies that are working out in the oil and gas fields. Hilcorp being one of them. We know BP is planning to move out, I think, of the area. At least their corporate headquarters certainly is being kind of relocated into the Denver area, and so that's another major player that has been here for a long time that maybe is making some some big long range changes. And so there is a lot of uncertainty about that in the region. In the meantime, you've got the prices going up and going down, and I think these companies trying to make these long-term decisions on putting in infrastructure or investments in these basins to figure out what's going to happen. The other side is that we've gotten really good, we the country, in the technology of getting oil and gas out of the ground at a fairly low price.
Yeah, I think that some of the technologies are interesting. The horizontal drilling now. It's my understanding that they can drill almost 2 miles horizontally, and that's a big change.
Sure.
In the last decade. The San Juan Basin historically is one of the largest producing oil and gas fields, but there's other places in the country now that have probably surpassed this area. And we hear a lot about the Four Corners. We're a remote place, and our organization, we've been part of the Four Corners Future Forum,
right?
Which I think is a good venue for some of these discussions. We were talking about transportation, and we were talking about some of the issues here in Four Corners, like that we're not near a major highway. That
no interstates, no railroads.
Yeah, we haven't had a railroad. We haven't had. We have no commercial air service.
In Farmington, that's
Farmington.
True, right?
Yeah, so
right. No international airport
we were talking
is another
about
thing.
Some of those things, and then it's like now's the time for us to sort of talk about that and talk about ideas. Like we personally are not enamored with any of these ideas about a railroad that's going to take coal out of here, for example. We just don't think that that's economically feasible.
Right.
Not going to be permitted. We don't see that we're going to get an interstate highway here. We're hoping that maybe that we'll get some commercial service at the airport is what we're hearing.
I think that's true. I think a lot of folks are working in that direction for sure, especially at the city level. Yeah,
but anyway, we're we're in this sort of time of uncertainty, and then we know that at the coal plants that the utilities, the major utilities are making changes. And so at San Juan Generating Station, we know that there's a good chance that that facility is going to retire in 2022.
It's not too far away.
Well, the coal mine, San Juan Mine, the owner declared bankruptcy. And a lot of these issues that are occurring are associated with economics. And then, our organization, we advocate for renewable energy because we think that is sort of a real productive use of, what we have here.
Right.
That if you dispatch the renewables first, you don't have marginal costs. A lot of the problems we're having right now, I think, are that, it's very competitive for, oil and gas. It's like, as a community, we don't have that much control over the fluctuations of the prices.
Right.
And we kind of keep saying, it's going to come back. I hear that a lot. Oil and gas prices are going to come back. We're going to be back to what we do best. And I'm not saying that people don't, use best practices when, they're doing the work out here. And I admire the skills of the people who are out in the oil and gas field because that's not my forte.
Right. But we had guests on earlier this week, so let me tell you what they've said. I think you saw the show, maybe, or maybe you heard about it. But the country, the society still needs petroleum products, oil and gas. Our cars still run on gasoline, and we still use a lot of plastics in our home and heat our homes with natural gas and things like that. So there's still that need in our society, unless we want to get rid of all that stuff, for oil and natural gas. And if we're not producing it, then somebody else is going to produce it, and we'll buy it from that country or what have you. I mean, that just seems to be the state of the market. And with coal, we don't have another transition necessarily fuel, right, to power our homes when there's no sunlight or no wind blowing. I mean, coal's been the reliable energy source for a lot of people. And I think that's the concern that some folks have, is that what do we have to go to if the power plants do shut down, if PNM, and they've said that they're out of the coal power business in 2022. So what replaces that? Is it a natural gas plant? Is it some other, because we don't have battery technology to store that solar energy maybe to use it at night when we might need it? That's the argument, I guess, right?
No, yeah, that's the argument.
And you've heard it.
And, I'm in some ways, we're all part of the problem. We all
right. Well, we all love our cars and our clothes and our
go to the store, buy food, have to eat every day.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that it's got to be more of a mix. I think that renewable energy has been really overlooked here in New Mexico. PNM only has 106 megawatts of solar on their entire system statewide. 306 megawatts of wind. We're one of the best areas in the country for renewable energy, particularly solar.
Our state, sure, yes.
Okay, so we should be talking to PNM right now and kind of saying, look, if San Juan Generating Station closes down, let's at least get, a few hundred megawatts of solar on the San Juan Generating Station site. And it could be brownfield reclamation, where we're utilizing some of the areas that have already been mined for coal. There's some interesting things going on. There's Paragon Ranch down near between Crown Point and Bisti Badlands. That's slated for 200 megawatts of solar.
Okay.
And that's...
That sounds Navajo reservation land, is that true?
Well,
or is that a private...
associated with Navajo, the Hopi and Navajo settlement of 1974.
Okay.
And so it's got a long history. But, if you get 200 megawatts of solar, that's equivalent to the Four Corners power plant. Now, the other thing that's sort of going on around here is that oil and gas and coal, there's some significant issues associated with carbon dioxide emissions, methane. We continue to be known as the methane hotspot here.
Right.
I would say that, the same people that you're talking about who are here early in the week,
sure.
like we're having a bit more of a dialogue with folks going, all right, have there been scientific issues here in the Four Corners area? Do we think that, that this is a pretty vulnerable community to climate change? Like I believe in climate change. I believe that, that we're impacting our natural systems.
Human beings. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
sure.
But I also I can agree to disagree, but also I think that the equation, it needs to be expanded, and the discussion needs to be expanded about what are the opportunities available to us. I just don't think that going to our politicians from up in this area who go to Santa Fe and go, we need 5 more years to run the coal-fired power plants. That may or may not happen, but the trend with utilities is that they're going to different ways of producing electricity. And we think that renewables should be part of the mix here in the Four Corners.
Right.
And so if we can create electricity without fuel input, if we can create jobs for people, if we can replace the tax structure, again, I've lived here for 23 years, so I'm not saying that I've got all the answers, but I think that we need to be a little bit creative and innovative in our thinking, and rather than regressive, let's look at progressive opportunities. And who do we need to talk to?
Right. Well, and that's a great point. And let me just go back up a little bit, because I want to talk a little bit about that, just to explain to the listeners about the Futures Forum that you mentioned, because I'm not sure everyone understands that is it's been happening now for the last couple of years, of getting the economic development folks from the Four Corners states together and other entities, like Four Corners Economic Development, I think economic development folks from the Navajo Nation, talking about the region as a whole, and how all of these economic development groups can work together for the combined benefit of the entire region. And that's what you're talking about with the Futures Forum, right?
So the Future Forum started, I think, two years ago, and,
right.
and the concept of it is thinking regionally, acting locally, thinking locally, acting regionally. There's a steering committee. We have a pretty interesting thing called the Northwest New Mexico Council of Governments, which
right.
is out of Gallup. And then there was also the identification that, the 4 states maybe needed to be discussing economic development opportunities.
Sure.
And then there's the public. And I consider us to be part of the public, a citizens group. What's big for us is public participation.
Right.
And so we got invited to this. But the first time around, it was like you had to pay to go. And so some of the entities that are involved are APS, the Four Corners Power Plant, Four Corners Economic Development, and they're
just talking about regionally what we can do. And the idea has been that maybe if we needed some federal help, to have maybe 8 senators in Washington helping on our behalf rather than just 2 from New Mexico and 2 from Colorado and 2 from Utah, or that type of idea was the concept of getting more people talking with the same voice, and working in the same direction, I think.
Yeah, the subject there is that they last month, the meeting, they're talking about quality health care, local food systems, Four Corners marketing,
those types of things,
qualified workforce, connectivity and technology infrastructure, and regional transportation.
Okay.
And I would suggest that energy is probably another important topic.
Sure.
But I think that this is real kind of at the formative stage, and I really think that it would behoove us as a community to embrace more inclusion. I just don't think the right people are always at these events, and I also feel like part of our responsibility is to listen to other people.
Sure.
And other vantage points. And I think that since things have changed so dramatically in the past couple of weeks politically, it would be great to have more involvement from some. We have some of the tribes involved in this, but it just seems that sometimes we're being talked at by the folks who are kind of entrenched in power.
Right. I hear what you're saying.
And so it's again, if there's one thing that I would advocate for, it would be more inclusion.
Okay. All right. And you talk about the political changes, and that's a great way for us to take a little break and tease what we want to talk about coming up in the next segment. Some of the political changes here in New Mexico and elsewhere. So we'll do that in just a moment. My guest, Mike Eisenfeld, is here from the San Juan Citizens Alliance. We're going to take a short break, everyone. When we come back, more with my guest in just a moment. And again, you're invited to be part of the conversation this morning. You can write a comment on our Facebook page, and we will see it here and be able to respond to you, as well as give us a call if you'd like to do that as well at 505-566-3909 is the number here at KSJE. You can give us a call as well. Back with more in just a moment. The time right now is 8:31.
Meet a company trying to train up a more diverse